Hello guys, it's me Kiki, your host on A Date with Kiki. A Date with Kiki is a show that opens everyone up to the inner world of men. On our dates, we bring to light some deep struggles in the world of men that no one talks about, and we profound or look for solutions for them. Today, my guest is Aaron T. Aaron, who is a UK-based John Maxwell certified independent transformation and mindset coach. Aaron is a speaker, a trainer, and a mentor. He is also a DISC behavioral certified trainer. He is also a member of the presidential advisory team of John Maxwell team. Aaron is a gospel artist, a worship leader, a songwriter with 2 album projects to his credits. Wow, that's a full, and I'm favored and honored to have you on set with me, considering how busy you are.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming, and welcome to A Date with Kiki.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me,
Thank
Kiki.
you. As I mentioned while introducing Aaron, I said he's a mindset and transformational coach. So today we're going to be talking about emotions. Should men cry? What do we think when we think about men's emotions? I'm sure Aaron is happy to deal with this topic for us.
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge.
Thank you so much for coming. That's a lot to your name. Kudos to you. So I'm just going to give you time to, tell us more about yourself. I'm sure I must have missed out one thing or the other. So is there anything else you want to say that you do?
I'm a father.
Okay. And a husband?
I'm a husband to one wife. Just like every other African person, especially if you have the Nigerian upbringing. I was raised in a home with as in a Christian home. My parents were pastors. My grandfather was an archbishop. I have a first degree. I have a second degree. I have a third degree. Well, to an extent, I am working with. So I also work as a 9 to 5 with as a business analyst.
Okay.
And one of my degrees was in business IT.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's me in a nutshell.
So in all of that, I think I have got one thing in common with you. 9 to 5, I'm a business analyst.
Oh, nice.
Good stuff. We don't have to put that up. Okay, so today, viewers, we're going to be talking about something very sensitive, and we call it emotions. What do people think about emotions? What would you say is the definition of emotions?
Simply put, for me, would be the idea that men also have feelings.
Okay.
And men also struggle with their feelings. Men struggle with their emotions. And I think your show today is trying as much as possible to highlight what the men do in their feelings. There's a song that came out recently, In My Feelings. I can't remember who the artist was. So men actually also have in their feeling moments, and feeling, thoughts, all those things all help contribute to what we all classify as emotions. Emotions.
Okay, now you said men have feelings.
Yep.
So, and then we're talking about men's emotions, and that's basically the feelings, the in-depth of the feelings. So what would you say are the emotional needs of men?
It's going to be the root of the emotional man. You can't. It's not a one-size fit all. Because you're going to have to take into consideration a lot of factors. Number one, where's the man from? How was the man built? What home was the man in? How was the man raised? So it's never a one size fit all. So it depends on the type of man. So a man who's not grown up, a man who's grown up with a mom would have his emotions and would have a lot of his emotions and his growth in that area being fed by the mom, unless he had male men or a male role model in his life to also show him emotions from a man's perspective. Okay. Vice versa. If you also had a man who grew up watching a dad abuse his mom, his emotions and a lot of the things that would form as his emotions as he grows up would stem from those things. So you're in talking about men and their emotions, you're going to have to look at various scenarios various scenarios that have led, and this is male or female, there are various scenarios that have led to the form and the makeup of why the person or any man has the emotions that they display.
Wow, that was deep. I didn't expect you to go to. So you need to break it down for us.
Okay.
And some things you said there. You said a man's emotions, depending on where he's raised and how he's raised. For instance, if he's raised by his mom, it will be tailored to that. And if he's raised by a father who abuses, or even if for the ones that are raised by whole men who do not abuse, proper men, their emotions are tied to that. So are you going to say that
their roots? So pretty much what I'm trying to say is their roots. So the things we watch, the things that we're exposed to, all those things are roots to what help create who we really are. Do you understand? What you've been exposed to as a child, the circumstances in which you were born, all those things will contribute to
you can't separate your emotions from
who you are, because you are who you are. So and it's if you've grown up in a home where they said men don't cry, you're going to grow up thinking that that's how all men are. But that was the picture in your home. If you grew up in a home where a man showed emotions, that's going to be your picture of life, that it's okay to show emotions. You understand? So you're a product of your environment. You're a product of what you've been through. You're a product of what you've been in all through your life. And those things form your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings, your habits.
Thank you. Thank you for breaking it down. Now, to my next question. So, I haven't said all of that. Would you say that, what would you say is our mindset for, I'm not a man now, what would you say is our mindset when we think of, or when the world thinks of the man's emotions?
It would still be a lot finding yourself in different scenarios. Men struggle. Men love.
Men are strong. You guys don't struggle.
I think women are also strong, and women struggle, right? So men struggle, men love, men are happy, men are sad, and many other scenarios. And a typical man goes through all these emotions depending on what life has thrown at them, right? And sometimes if you're never really going to know the true test of what you have on your inside until you're faced with a circumstance or a situation. So I'll give you an example. In 2010, I had an experience where my wife was pretty much dead. She had a brain aneurysm. And coming out of that experience over a year plus, and my wife being in hospital for almost 43 days, and all the things that happened in that season, I had a lot of people come out of that experience asking me, say, wow, you are strong. How are you so strong? You stood, and people literally would start saying, hey, I wish the man I marry would be like you. And people just used to say things like that. In fact, I was sharing this in America last week, and somebody said, wow, you better marry right. You better marry, somebody used an example, you better marry somebody like Aaron. They was talking to the women. But what you don't know is through all that I had my own struggles. So I saw God heal my wife, or healing my wife in a situation, yet I was going through my own health challenge that I'm still asking God to heal me for. I'm not exactly seeing anything going on in my own health challenge, but I'm seeing God heal my wife. Right? Before this happened, we were already considering going through a surgery to try and fix my own situation. Yeah. But then this happened to my wife. In that moment, I've suspended everything I'm going through. I'm in hospital every day being strong for my wife, but in pain. And people are coming to the hospital every day and saying, wow, you are strong, but they don't know I'm in pain.
And did anyone ever ask?
Nobody has ever asked about my pain. Nobody knows. Do you understand? But even with me, in that moment, my pain is irrelevant because of what my wife is going through.
But it would have been good for someone to ask you, maybe not about your pain, but okay.
But people didn't even know. Possibly the only person that knew I was even going through any pain was my wife. Do you understand? So coming to rain on that parade at that point wouldn't make any sense, because in my mind, my pain, something that had been a pain so far till then, was no longer as significant as a wife who was about to die or who was dying.
Okay, now, Now, I don't want us to center on the pain.
Yeah.
I want us to center on the emotions we're feeling, because this is a real life situation you just talked
Yeah.
about. The emotions you were feeling when your wife was going through all of that. I'm sure it would have been okay, or like you said, nobody noticed they were feeling anything. Would it have made you better or feel better if anybody had said, okay, how are you handling this? Do you need help? How are you coping with this? Because I'm sure seeing your wife in that state every day, you go back and you feel broken sometimes. Were there helps around all that?
If I'm being totally honest, I'm not sure I would have given anybody the opportunity to even break into me that way at that point.
Why?
Because in that point, my focus was razor sharp.
Okay.
The doctors have said your wife won't make it. The doctors have said your wife is a vegetable. The doctors have said all this about my wife. And in that point, I had my focus strictly on God and that he could heal this person. So I was bent on my confessions and my declarations and everything the scripture had said concerning my wife. That was my focus. That was all I was looking for. So any other thing for me felt like a distraction. Right? So my focus in that moment was, this woman has to come alive. This woman has to be well. So I doubt if I would have given anybody an opportunity. So even there were scenarios where even her family, where I had issues with her family, where I would not allow even family members see my wife until I had seen my wife. So there were all kind of things I was battling with in that season. My focus, my number one focus, was my wife.
And how about after the season?
Now,
after all of that?
Now, the beautiful thing about it is it's always ongoing. Now, yes, my wife came out of hospital, but my wife still needed help, right? So, okay, let me actually go away from this and just explain a bit of, and I can't say it's a one size fits all, a bit of how things work with me. So recently, about last month, I literally went through a phase where in a 24-hour period, I had not slept. Right? In the 24-hour period, I had not slept. I've been in a strategy meeting. It was a strategy retreat. So I've been in a strategy retreat from a Friday. And I normally have coachings on Saturday mornings at 5:30 a.m. 5:30, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. I'm on like that till 9 o'clock. And I'm in this strategy. So the strategy meeting ended about 2 a.m. I thought, let me sleep for a few hours before my session. I mistakenly had a shower and I became so awake. So I went straight into my coaching sessions and the next strategy session started. So I went like that, and then I'm an artist. Then I was singing again later in the day. So I went from strategy meeting to sing and came back to strategy meeting. So in a 24-hour slot, I was on adrenaline. I was just going. My focus was on energy, the things that were happening to me. Now, all of a sudden, when I came to dinner in the evening and I had done everything I needed to do, I literally noticed myself calming down. And I really started feeling my real self, that, wow, you are tired. Do you understand? You've gone like this. You've just been on energy plus. Yeah. Do you understand? So that is how I would explain what was going on with me in that time. In that season, as long as my wife was looking how she was looking, I was on adrenaline. Nothing else was important. Not me, not my, I mean, if I can be completely honest, I lost properties in that period. I had tenants, I had agents calling me saying a tenant is trashing your property. I wasn't going to start looking for a tenant when my wife was in the hospital. Do you understand? I had tenants who were not paying rent. It was not important. Do you understand? I had houses that were being repossessed. It was not important. The most important thing at this point was the focus. Yeah. This woman had to be well. Do you understand? How did I get there? I don't know if that is how every man must behave or relate, but those were the real things with me.
Wow, that's a lot. And those are deep things that are being revealed. Now, we're going to take a break, but we'll be back shortly to ask the questions about what happens when men don't deal with their emotions. Because these things happen, a lot of men don't deal with their emotions. We'll take a break now and be back shortly. Thank you. Yes, welcome back to the continuation of my chat with Aaron. And if you'd agree with me, it's been deep. Aaron has shared some great insights. And like I said earlier on before we left, that we're going to be asking about, what actually happens to men when they don't deal with their issues.
Cool. So, great question. Anything you don't deal with will still affect you. That's the simple thing. You have to be honest with yourself to identify exactly where in life you are to be able to deal with it. I mean, even the Bible talks about weeds and plants growing together. The weeds would always be growing. So anything that is not dealt with will definitely still haunt you. So as a man, you really need to be honest with where you are at. So even with some of the things I've shared, if I'm being totally honest, I know I need to see a therapist at some point, because at the moment, the most important thing is still my wife getting well and getting better. But I also know that there are deep things, especially because I'm a coach, which has helped to an extent because of the field in which I work in, which helps me understand that I need certain help. But because I'm able to, because of what I work, because of the areas I work in terms of transformation and mindset, and the kind of things I read and the kind of things I do, I am constantly x-raying even myself through the things I'm studying. So the Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. So I'm constantly inspecting my thinking. I'm constantly watching what I'm thinking. And that's how I'm able to discover that, look, there are some issues here. If I need to raise the vibration of my thoughts above those issues so that I can have better results. Yeah. So if I don't deal with those things, then the results in my life are going to be as a result of what has not been dealt with.
Okay. So now we're talking about dealing with the issues.
Yeah.
So if you don't deal with the issues, I'm trying to get what he's saying, because I'm sure they would help me as well. And I've got 2 boys. So I'm a woman living with 3 men in the house. Yeah. So what you don't deal with would come back to hurt you. So my question was, what happens when men don't deal with it? It comes back to hurt them. Would you say that's the why men, or the reason why we have issues with men, understanding them, and then a man walks into his house and he's just cranky, he's angry, and
all that kind of stuff is still a function of thoughts. It's still a function of environment. It's a function of for men, depending on what kind of wife you have, if you're a married man, depending on your support system, everything is your environment. If you as a mom, if you've created an environment, and you've shared quite a lot, if you've created an environment where your men can be free to talk to you, then they will talk to you, right? They would always feel open to be able to express. But if you haven't created that kind of environment, what you're going to find out is somebody bottles up. And you can never really find out what is really in the heart of that person. So the environment is key. The environment is key. So our church systems need to create the kind of environment where people can be themselves. So, but especially if you're from African homes, what you find out is we have created environments where you need to come out strong, where you need to look strong, where you need to be strong. So what people are doing is they are creating very false appearances, very false external shows that does not really exactly show who they really are inside. But even on the flip, I can come out and be as vulnerable as I can be, and people don't believe me. So when I tell my friends I go through struggles, even me as a man, that I'm going through certain struggles, people don't believe it, because I'm the guy who is there for everybody. I'm the guy who is strong. I'm the guy who is watching everybody. So when I'm saying or talking through, hey, I'm struggling, people naturally wouldn't believe you that you're going through things. So you never really can win, depending on the kind of guy you are, because there are men who will say you can't be thinking that way, and even when you're opening up, people are still saying you're not being honest. You understand? You're not being, but that's it. So you're going to have to find the way for yourself. Everybody has to take personal responsibilities for themselves. At the end of the day, it's going to be down to personal responsibilities. The Bible says, by their fruits we will know them. So look at your results. If you're not getting the kind of results you want to see in your life, you need to check what you're planting. So you need to go and check your thoughts. That's for Christian men. But we also need to build stronger communities. We need to build stronger friendships. We need to build stronger relationships. What kind of relationships do I need to build with my wife, with the people close to me, where they can see through? I'll give you an example. When I was doing my I'm just going to be very boring, but when I was doing my second degree at the university, there was this pretty girl on campus. I don't know if she was really pretty. There was something about this particular girl that distracted me so much, but it was eating up in me so much. I couldn't go and tell my wife that I'm looking at another girl in school, right? You know, but she knew something was distracting me so much. I couldn't talk about it because I'm not sure how would I be telling you that there's another girl in school? Is it okay to be this vulnerable? But I can remember this Sunday, my wife had left. I needed to deal with this thing. So I was like, I'm not going to church today. I just needed to be home by myself. And my wife had left for church. But I'll never forget what happened. Halfway into her trip, she drove back home and said, whatever is eating you up, we're going to deal with it together. I want to know what this thing is. And I bet you the moment I found the courage to say it, when I went to school the next day, I didn't see this person in the same way. So the more that thing was bottled up, the more it was going to destroy me. The moment I vocalized it, the hold of that thing was gone. You understand? So whatever you don't deal with will come back to haunt you. So this was not a prayer session. I didn't need to go for any deliverance. Nothing. The moment I talked to it about my wife, I got back to school the next day, and that was it.
You're fine.
I was gone. I just needed to get it out. But she created the environment for me to be that expressive, to talk about what was really on my heart.
And I'd say it's because you have created the environment for that in your home as well. And so it works both ways, actually. So it's a case of when the environment is there as well, being able to maximize it. What if she had created the environment and you didn't?
Of jealousy. If she had created the environment of jealousy, anger, over time, what would happen is she would have driven me faster to that woman. Because I would not be able to express myself at home. I would want to get this feeling out. So maybe I'd have said, let me talk to this woman. One thing could have led to the other. And then it just keeps getting worse.
And then again, I'm taking it back to you, the man in the home, because here we're talking about men. I'm sure you have created, because I'd say that your wife being able to come to you to talk about this thing is as a result of the seed you've sown in the house. You have created the atmosphere where both of you have been able to talk to each other.
Intentionality is the word I would use. You have to have enough awareness though, right? So awareness is the number one step for any change. Now, number two step is your acceptance of that awareness. So a lot of people have awareness, but many people are not willing to accept that awareness. Now, when you accept the awareness, that defines your future. That defines the life you're living. So Bible says, everybody talks about knowledge, especially our churches and environments. We know the practice, we know the theory. Everybody knows, don't do this, don't do that. But the Bible says, in all you're getting, get understanding. Not many people get understanding. You will never have understanding until you have put yourself through the experience. That's where understanding comes. Do you understand? So knowledge is nothing until it is a evaluated experience. So when I find myself in the situation, so when my wife was sick, that's when I knew that the word of God has to work. If nothing before then, I just knew about the word of God. But all of a sudden, I had all this stuff I had always learned. Speak the word, speak the word. I had to test it because I now had a scenario. And so today I've come out of that situation and I can tell you the word works. Because I had to prove it. So when whatever knowledge you have, whatever you're going through, if you're not going to be willing to test it, if you're not going to be willing to be intentional to go through it to get understanding, you're never really going to learn.
Now, earlier when you were talking about emotions and how to express them and everything, you went into as a man in the home, as a leader. Now we have a lot of leaders out there, CEOs, coaches and all of it, even pastors who are not able to express their emotions, who are not able to express themselves. I don't know, maybe this could be as a result of the pressure the society puts on them or our expectations. What would you say about this? How can we help this?
People have to be intentional about building their networks. A lot of things is environment. If you're in a fake environment, you're always going to act fake. It's simple. If you're in an environment where everybody's acting like they're the big boy, they're the big boy, they're big boy, you have to be honest with yourself in the environment in which you are. I personally, it's said that you're the sum total of the top 5 people you hang around with. So if you're hanging around with fake people, you're going to be fake yourself. So you have to be deliberate and intentional to say, look, when I'm going through something, who are the type of people that need to be in my inner circle that I can be honest about, to say, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm feeling. And not many people have those kind of circles. Do you understand? In my marriage, in my home, my wife knows if you're trying to talk to me, you can't reach me, call this friend of mine. It's like a standard practice. She's used it once recently, sometime last year. I'm about to start a coaching session. I see all my friends pulling to the house. I'm like, what's going on? My wife had pulled them. She had pulled, she had played her card. Yeah. So it's like, call this person, he knows who to call. So he speaks to my best friend. My best friend alerts members of my inner circle, and everybody shows up in my house and say, hey, you need to drop that call, you're not doing this coaching, whatever. For the next 3 hours, we're dealing with issues because my wife is aware that, look, if you can't reach me, if I'm not hearing you, you have the right to speak to this person. That's the power of my inner circle.
The buttons to press.
Yes. So you have to have an inner circle that can be honest, that can look at you in the face, that can tell you, hey, you're messing up. Hey, you're misbehaving. And not many people have such inner circles. So everybody is constantly playing a lie and acting a lie and being fake. And that's what's creating all these things.
And those inner circles can be your pad.
Yeah.
Emotional.
You have to be deliberate about picking them. They have to be people you can like and trust, because yes, people have been hurt. Do you understand? You've trusted people and they have really damaged people. That's why. So what you then happen is, damage people will damage people, hurt people will hurt people. If you're not intentional about arresting how I really feel and address some of those things, you're never really going to find healing, because you're just going to go and damage someone else.
I just picked something from what you said. Damaged people will damage others.
Yeah.
Hurt people will hurt others. So when you see a man who is hurting others, I think rather than judge, find out what they've been through.
Yeah, pretty much there's a story behind it.
Yeah.
There's always a story behind it.
Finally, my last question for today would be, how would you say fathers can mentor their sons emotionally? Because growing up in Africa, or with an African background, men are not allowed to cry. When a boy is crying, they will tell you, man up here, man, stop crying. How should we mentor, or how would you say you men should mentor our younger boys?
Number one, we need more honest fathers and maybe mothers. In the world we live in, you better be honest to your kids about your experiences. So I'll give you an example. Growing up as a child, I had pressure to smoke, and I never did smoke. I remember going to my dad to talk about this, and it didn't go down too well. Now, but my father is a pastor, so one day I've gone out to minister with my dad. My father went to minister somewhere, and I'm hearing him for the first time talking about it on stage, how he used to smoke and stopped smoking. I was heartbroken. Why didn't you tell me in that moment when I came to you to say, son, I used to smoke. This is how I was delivered. So, number one thing, parents, be honest about the things you've gone through. Teach your children through your experience. Do you understand? Be vulnerable to them. Let them see you be you. On my way here to your show today, I parked where I wasn't going to park, and my daughter said to me, Daddy, you can't park here. I didn't go, hey, I'm your daddy. You don't talk to me that way. I said, yes, baby, you are right. I shouldn't park here. Daddy shouldn't do this. So let's go. Right? We have to, the world in which we live today, we have to be honest. We have to, because our children are going to live by what we show, not what we tell them. So be the real model at home. Be the guy who is expressive. When you make a mistake, be honest about your mistake. Tell your kids, I'm working through this, I'm growing through this. Then those children also begin to grow to also be honest with their feelings, honest with their emotions. Create an environment and awareness, a home that allows children, especially if you're raising boys, that allows children to be honest and open about how they deeply feel, and then you're going to be able to build better environment. Then that child grows up confident, that child goes out confident, knowing that I can go home and tell mom what I'm going through, what I'm thinking, and not that I'll be shut down. So it takes a lot of work. The parents had to work on it. I've had my daughter tell me certain things that I don't even think I can still tell my own parents or talk to my parents, even at my age today. But when she says such things, I am listening intently, to hear what she is really saying, and just be honest with what I think about it.
Yeah, that's key. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
These are deep things you've revealed to us, and thank you for being vulnerable. I know you said a lot of things are going into your vulnerability, but we're talking about emotions, and being vulnerable is one of the ways you deal with them. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, viewers, for staying tuned with us. My final word for today, or my takeaway, is it's okay to be vulnerable. Men cry, and it's okay to cry. Well, I'm not necessarily saying crying, but men have got emotions. If you've got to cry, yes, so be it. Great men cry, and great men are true to their emotions. And then, this is very key to me because I've got boys and I love boys. Be true to your boys. Be open to them because they're learning from your life. They're learning from the things they see you go through and say. I'll see you again on the next episode of A Date with Kiki. Until then, bye.